Guys, the time has come. It's time to do my final Green Bay Packers personal 7-round mock draft. This will be version 10.0, and as much as I'm sad that mock drafts are ending, I'm even more excited that the draft is only a few days away. I will also be going to the draft and be behind the scenes, so make sure to click subscribe down below to see behind the scenes content of the first ever draft in Green Bay. And this is my final personal mock draft. I will still be releasing my Brian Gutekunst mock draft on Wednesday, one day before the draft. I did that last year, got pretty close throughout that entire draft. So this mock draft is going to be my final personal mock where I draft the players that I want the Packers to draft. But on Wednesday, I'll release what I think Brian Gutekunst will do come Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Big shout out to BetUsTV for sponsoring today's video, guys. If you want more sports content, definitely go check out BetUsTV over here on YouTube. I linked their channel down below for more sports videos, live streams, and overall some really good content over there on BetUsTV. They also have an X account as well, and that is also at BetUsTV. Again, big shout out to BetUsTV for being this year's channel sponsor. All right, so without further ado, let's waste no more time and let's get into the mock draft. My final personal mock draft, version 10.0. The Green Bay Packers still pick at 23. I likely will have some trades happening in this mock as I want the Packers to move around in this draft and pick up more draft picks, just like Brian Gutekunst has said as well. Now, the Packers still pick at 23, and whether or not you think they could potentially trade up, I think that's a lot more likely that they trade down or stay put at 23. And that's probably what I'm going to do here in my final mock draft. I don't believe I'm going to trade up. I like Will Johnson. I'm decently high on Tedero and McMillan, but I don't think it's worth it too much to trade up in this draft and lose more draft picks in the middle to late rounds where there's a lot of talent in this draft. So I'm going to either stay put at 23 or see how the board falls and trade back and still get one of my favorite players here in the first round. So let's get to the pick. All right, so we're on the clock at pick 23. Some of the players available are Malachi Starks, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, Kenneth Grant, Kelvin Banks Jr., Trey Amos, Nick Scorton. A lot of good players available on this board, and ideally, I think I would want the Packers to trade back in this situation. Now, I still think I can trade back and get the player that I want. So that's what we're going to try to do. I'm going to trade back 3 spots with the LA Rams and pick up an additional 4th round pick, swapping picks 23 and 26, swapping 202 and 250, so also upgrading a pick late in the draft, but then netting pick 127, then giving us 9 total picks in this draft class as of right now, and hopefully still getting the player that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and send that trade to the Rams. And again, this is using the Rich Hill trade value chart. So these values are pretty even. If you go and look it up, you can look at these picks. I believe it's exactly even value here. So it's a realistic trade. And let's get to our pick at 26. So the 3 players that came off the board, the Rams traded up and got Colston Loveland, which is also a realistic thing here. If Loveland's available at 23, I could see the Rams ringing the Green Bay Packers phone and wanting to go up and get their tight end. Gray Zabel goes at 24 to the Vikings. Malachi Starks falls all the way to the Texans. They still don't go offensive lineman, with Kelvin Banks just sitting there staring at them. But we are back on the clock at 26. And if you watch the Bleacher Report Creator mock draft, this is very similar to what I did over there, except over there I traded down to 25 and got my player. Here I traded down even further and netted a 4th round pick, and I'm going to get my player, and it's going to be Kenneth Grant, one of the guys I've mocked to the Green Bay Packers the most. He's one of my favorite selections in the first round. I have him ranked higher than this spot. I have him as a top 20 prospect. I think Kenneth Grant added to this Packers defense would really take them to the next level. We lost TJ Slayton this offseason. He was our primary middle of the defense, run defender, gap-filling defensive lineman, and if you upgrade TJ Slayton to Kenneth Grant, that's a massive upgrade. He's a guy that is going to be better than TJ Slayton at defending the run, but can also offer you production in the pass rush game. Now, he needs to get more consistent in the pass rush game, but you see it when you watch the film and you watch Kenneth Grant. This guy is explosive. He doesn't really miss tackles. He has one of the lowest missed tackle rates in the upcoming draft for defensive linemen. He has a 9.4% pass rush win rate, a 7.9% run stop rate with a really nice 87.5 run defense grade. He's my defensive lineman number 2. I like him over Walter Nolan. I like him over Derek Harmon. Obviously, Mason Graham is number 1, but his partner over there in Michigan, which they played 2 completely different positions, obviously, Kenneth Grant being more of that middle of the defense guy, Mason Graham being more of that 3-tech guy, and I still think the Packers could add a 3-tech lineman in this draft, but if Kenneth Grant is sitting there after a trade down in the first round where you netted another draft pick, upgraded your 7th round, I think you have to run the card up. I'm very, very high on Kenneth Grant, so for my final personal mock draft, my final first-round pick for the 2025 NFL Draft, it's going to be Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman from Michigan. So we're back on the clock at 54, and again, there's a lot of talent available here at 54. Now, Maxwell Harrison just went at 53. Would have definitely been a thought there at 54. Benjamin Morrison is still available, and I really like Benjamin Morrison. I think if a team gets him in the 2nd round, obviously bearing any medical issues, if he's healthy, you're getting an absolute steal. But there's also a ton of other options, such as Jaden Higgins, Princely Uman Mielen, Jalen Royals, Jared Ivey. There's a ton of options here. Traditionally, I would go Jaden Higgins. I do really like him at wide receiver, but there is another wide receiver, and you guys, if you watch my channel, you know who it's going to be, that I'm going to target with my next pick because that's the receiver I want in the green and gold. Not saying I wouldn't love Jaden Higgins in the green and gold, but I think I'm going to go that route because it is my final mock draft. So I think I'm going to actually try to trade down a slight bit here and maybe still get one of Benjamin Morrison or Princely Uman Mielen with our next pick. So I'm going to be trading with the Baltimore Ravens down 5 spots. I'm going to be swapping 54 and 59 and then sending 202 but getting back 136. So we're going to go ahead and offer that trade and get to our pick at 59. So we got down to 59. Now Princely Uman Mielen was off the board at 58, but really I would have chosen Benjamin Morrison over Princely Uman Mielen anyway. Now wildly, Jaden Higgins is still available here. So this is a very difficult one to pass up on Jaden Higgins at 59, but I really do think Benjamin Morrison can be one of the best cornerbacks out of this entire draft class, and he's going really under the radar right now just because of the injury concerns, and I understand that, but I think Benjamin Morrison will be fine. And obviously the Packers are going to need to add depth and talent to that cornerback room because I do believe they move on from Jair Alexander, whether that's during the draft, after the draft. Obviously, how they draft will also dictate. If they go out and draft 2 to 3 cornerbacks, you can almost bet that they're going to be then trading Jair Alexander after the draft or during the draft after that point. And I think they could go cornerback as early as round 1, round 2. I really do think they could. They've added a lot of nickel talent to that cornerback room, such as Nate Hobbs, Javon Bullard last year. They need outside guys, and Benjamin Morrison is that. Now, again, he only played in 6 games last season due to the hip injury, but in those 6 games played really well. Back in 2023 and 2022, he was one of the best cornerbacks in college football. We see he had 3 interceptions in 2023, 6 interceptions in 2022. And if he gets back to that form and remains healthy, which I know it's a little bit contradicting here, moving on from Jair Alexander to bring in another cornerback that, has a little bit of an injury concern here. But, Benjamin Morrison, 21 years old. I really like adding him into this defense, and maybe he's not ready right away. And I still probably will add another cornerback in this draft class. But I am going to go Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame here at pick 59. I can't pass up the value. If he was fully medically cleared and ready to go, he could be a top 20 pick in this draft. And I think getting him here at 59 is tremendous value. So I'm going to try to trade up here with the Dallas Cowboys. We pick at 87. But I don't believe the player that I want is going to be available. So I'm going to trade up with the Cowboys here at 76, and we're going to be swapping 2 set of picks here. So we're going to be swapping 87 and 76, and then we're going to be sending 136, which we got from Baltimore, but getting back 204, which they have from Detroit. So go ahead and send that trade through, and we're going to get wide receiver Trey Harris from Ole Miss, my favorite wide receiver out of this entire draft class. I really want the Packers to go and get Trey Harris, and if they're able to snag him in the middle of the 3rd round, I think that is phenomenal value. I could see Trey Harris going in the 2nd round. Honestly, if Jaden Higgins goes earlier in the 2nd round or even sneaks into the 1st, I could really see Trey Harris going mid to late 2nd round. So if the Packers are able to kind of wait to the 3rd round here, trade up in the 3rd round and go and get their guy Trey Harris to upgrade and instantly upgrade their wide receiver room at that X position, Trey Harris is my favorite option for that. Last 3 seasons, 900 plus yards the last 3 seasons. And when you watch his film, it's so intriguing because Ole Miss ran such an RPO-heavy offense, yet Trey Harris still had a 17.2 yards per reception average, which is unreal. He has the highest grade versus man coverage coming out of this draft class, albeit a smaller sample size, but that's not his fault. Every time he went against man coverage, he absolutely destroyed it. 7.7% drop rate, contested catch rate of 61.5%, an absurd yards per route run of 5.12, receiving grade 89.4. I really like Trey Harris, 6'3", 210. I think he's more around 6'2". Runs a 4.5 40. So not the fastest guy, not a burner. I still think they can get a burner later in this draft, but I really like Trey Harris as that prototypical X receiver. He can block, he's physical, he's strong, he can go up and win contested catches, he can be your red zone threat. He's one of my favorite receivers, if not my favorite receiver in this entire class. So here, after trading up to 76 with the Dallas Cowboys, I am selecting Trey Harris, receiver out of Ole Miss. So I was just about to stop the draft from continuing to try to trade up for Ashton Gelati here. He's one of my sleeper edges, and for some reason he's going under the radar and is kind of falling to right around this area, and I think he's one of the better edges out of this entire class. When you look at the 2023 tape, the 2023 film, and he didn't have a bad 2024 by any means, but I really like him. Unfortunately, he goes here at 108. I was going to trade up to right around 109, 110, and of course he went at 108. I had that mark at 110 there, so gonna have to go and move to a different route at edge rusher, but I did really want to get Ashton Gelati here. Here at pick 124, we also have picks at 127 and 159, so a lot of picks here between the 4th and the 5th round. I'm going to add another defensive lineman. We got Kenneth Grant, middle of the defense guy, stop the run, take on double teams, gap fill, but I also think the Packers could add an athletic 3-tech defensive lineman that can get after the quarterback, and that is Ty Robinson. Now, this is where I see him going. He could go even earlier. He could go late 3rd round, maybe even earlier in the 4th round. I could totally see that happening. I think the consensus has him around player 100. PFF has him up to 120 now. I think they used to have him in like the 200s, which is crazy. But if they can get him here at 124, which is a traditional Packers pick, they actually do own 124. I think that's tremendous value. I really like Ty Robinson. He also fits a lot of what the Packers like at 3-tech in terms of the thresholds, the height to weight, the athletic profile. I think he was the fastest defensive lineman in terms of 40-yard time at the combine. 10.4 pass rush win rate, 8.1 run stop rate. He really just feels like a Packers defensive lineman type. And adding Kenneth Grant and Ty Robinson in a very heavy defensive lineman draft class, I think is a home run to build up this front 4. We know the Packers want to just send 4 and hopefully get home with just those 4, which was kind of a problem last year. So adding Kenneth Grant and Ty Robinson to a group of Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, I think is a tremendous start. So here at 124, we are going Ty Robinson, defensive lineman out of Nebraska. So I'm going to trade down with the Tennessee Titans here. I'm on the clock at 127, just 3 picks past selecting Ty Robinson. I think I can trade down and still get an edge rusher that I like. I'm not too fond of a couple of the guys that are on the top of the board right now. And again, I want to continue to upgrade these draft selections. So we're going to be swapping 2 picks here with the Tennessee Titans, 127 and 141, but then upgrading 204, which we got in a previous trade, all the way up to 167. So we send that trade, and let's get to our pick at 141. So we are finally going to add edge rusher here at 141. Would have liked to address this a little bit earlier in this draft, but with the way the board fell, getting Grant, Morrison, Trey Harris, Ty Robinson, I'm very happy with that. And I think, the addition of Robert Covington to this defensive line coaching staff, moving on from Jason Rebrovich, is going to help our current edge rushers more than we think. I think Lucas Van Ness is going to be coached up well and hopefully have a nice season here in year 3, proving his worth as a former first-round draft selection. I think a lot of people underrate Brenton Cox Jr., who had one of the highest pass rush win rates among all edges in the NFL the second half of the season. Kingsley Enagbare is a solid rotational edge guy, and I don't necessarily think if the board falls a certain way, the Packers need to draft an edge earlier than round 4. I don't necessarily think they need to, because there are some good options in these rounds. We could go Ahmed Hassanin here. Doesn't traditionally fit what the Packers like out of their edge players. But again, they switched to a 4-3. This is going to be really the first year we're going to see them drafting for that 4-3 at edge. So they could switch it up and switch their thresholds and go someone like Ahmed Hassanin, who I really like. But someone who I really like, and I think the Packers have their eyes on, is Tyler Barron out of Miami. He's another one of my draft sleepers here in the middle rounds, especially at edge, coming off a 10-sack season, 18.7% pass rush win rate, good against the run, 76.7 run defense grade, 9.0 run stop rate. In 2023, he had 6 sacks. I really like Tyler Barron, 6'5", 260 pounds, a little bit older, right? 23 years old, but not crazy old. He's not like he's 24 or 25, right? In that, 23-year-old range is fine for, say, a 5th rounder here. And I like adding Tyler Barron to our current edge group, just adding him to that rotation, a guy that you can bring on later downs to say, hey, go and get the quarterback. And hopefully, he continues to grow in the Packers defense and in this system. So at 141, we are going Tyler Barron, edge out of Miami. So we're back on the clock at 159. I was really trying to draft Quincy Riley. I think this guy is going to be a phenomenal cornerback at the NFL level. And he really feels like a Packers player that they target. Didn't play the best in 2024, right? You see this grade, although he did only allow 73 passer rating, only played in 10 games. But in 2023, he had a phenomenal season. 3 interceptions, 37.2 passer rating allowed. I don't know why Quincy Riley's also, lower on a lot of people's draft boards. I could see him sneaking into even the late 2nd, early 3rd round. I really, really like Quincy Riley. So I was waiting until around, I think, 153. I was going to end up trying to trade up for Quincy Riley. Unfortunately, he went at 150, but I really do like Riley there. And if I could add him and Benjamin Morrison, again, I think that's a phenomenal start at adding more depth and talent to that cornerback room. But again, he was selected, so I'm going to have to rotate to potentially another corner here. Here in the 5th round at 159, we're back on the clock, and I think the Packers are going to add a tackle in this draft. They've met with a ton of tackles, top 30 visits, and Logan Brown is an intriguing option. Now, he's only had 1 year starting at tackle, and that's at right tackle with Kansas, a former Wisconsin Badger. I believe he got kicked off the program for fighting with someone at practice or something of that sort. But besides that, I do like Logan Brown as a prospect at tackle, and the Packers don't have a ton of depth at tackle. Now, if you consider Jordan Morgan a left tackle, which I think the Packers do, yeah, sure, they have depth at left tackle, but they need more depth. And I think Logan Brown is a good start to getting more depth at that tackle position at 159 here. Coming off a really good season. Again, the only season he started, but an 82.5 grade. Didn't allow a single sack or quarterback hit and only allowed 6 hurries. He had a good pass blocking grade of 78.0, a tremendous run blocker, 82.2 run block grade. He's a behemoth out there, 6'6", 315 pounds. I really like Logan Brown as a middle round tackle prospect in this draft. So I am going to select him here at 159. We're going tackle Logan Brown out of Kansas. Here in the 5th round, we're going to go get another wide receiver at pick 167, and it is going to be Ty Felton out of Maryland. Now, the Packers just met with him, I believe, last week. I do really like Dante Thornton. I think that it feels like such a Packers wide receiver, and likely if I was doing my Brian Gutekunst mock, it would be the pick here. I like Andrew Armstrong. I really like Elijah Badger. I might even add a 3rd wide receiver there in the 7th round, but I think Ty Felton is wonderful value here at wide receiver out of Maryland. Coming off an 1,100-yard season, 96 receptions, took most of his snaps out wide, but can play some slot, 151 snaps in the slot this last season, 7.7 drop percentage, 80.2 receiving grade. He's a little bit on the lighter side. So he's 6'2", I believe he's actually 6'1", 186 pounds. So a little bit on the lighter side, but has blazing speed. If you look at his RES, he has a 9.2 athletic profile here with a 4.37 speed, vertical of 39.5, and a 10'10" broad jump. Yeah, you see a little lighter there, 6'1", 183 pounds. Not the best in terms of weight, but he also is tremendous with the ball in his hands at making people miss. He had 26 missed tackles forced, which was tied for 8th of all wide receivers in college football. I think you just get this guy the ball in his hands and he creates plays. And I think he's a perfect complement to drafting Trey Harris in the 3rd round, more of that possession guy, contested catch guy, where Ty Felton, could be your deep threat receiver, take the top off of defense, your yards after the catch guy, just get the ball in his hands. And I think it would be a perfect pairing at wide receiver in a draft class. So at 167, we are going Ty Felton, wide receiver out of Maryland. Here at pick 198, we're going to add yet another cornerback to this class after adding Benjamin Morrison in the 2nd round. I'm going to go with the very high upside and athletic profile of Za Frazier out of UTSA. Now, really only 1 year starting for a, lower competition cornerback. I think he could fall to round 6. I think he's more of a late round 4, 5th round type of guy. But if he does fall because of that, I think it's phenomenal value here at 198. Zoff Frazier is very intriguing. Had 6 interceptions this past season, allowed a quarterback rating of 37.7. He had a really nice run defense grade of 82.1. His man coverage grade was pretty much average, 60.5, but he's very good in zone coverage, 79.3. Allowed a very low completion percentage of 47.4%. He also only missed 2 tackles, so very willing in the run game, which we know the Packers like. But again, only 1 year of stardom at UTSA here, 441 snaps. He's an outside corner, so adding Benjamin Morrison and Zoff Frazier, is the much needed depth that they need at outside cornerback. And you just love the upside in the athletic profile. He has a 9.36 RAS. He ran a 4.36 40 coming in at almost 6'3", 186 pounds, has a solid vertical of 36.5, good agility, just elite speed. And I think the Packers need more speed at that cornerback position. So we are going Zoff Frazier here at 198, cornerback out of UTSA. So with our final pick here in the 7th round at pick 237, I really like going Elijah Badger in the 7th round. He is by far my favorite sleeper player in this entire class. I've drafted him in a lot of draft classes, but we've already gone 2 wide receivers, Trey Harris and Ty Felton, and I'm comfortable leaving the draft with 2 wide receivers. I think the Packers could go 3, considering Christian Watson with the torn ACL. He's on the last year of his rookie deal. Romeo Doubs is on the last year of his rookie deal. But I think adding 3 guys would really make it difficult to, figure out who you're going to cut out of that wide receiver room. Then you really have to cut one of or both of Bo Melton or Malik Heath at that wide receiver position, which I think they both have their own upside. So I don't think I'm going to go Elijah Badger, although I love Badger. No drops this past season, good against man coverage. And if you had any bit of consistency at quarterback at Florida, this guy would easily have over 1,000 yards at receiver. Don't know why he's being considered a 7th round guy. I see him a lot higher than that, but I think I'm going to add an interior offensive lineman in Drew Kendall. Played at Boston College under Jeff Hafley, good athletic center. Now we're moving Elton Jenkins over to center. We have Jacob Monk that, maybe could play some center, but I think we need to draft a true center after losing our only one in Josh Myers, letting him walk and go to the New York Jets. And Drew Kendall's a good one to stash on your roster. If you don't see the long-term projection of Elton Jenkins playing center years and years into the future, which you probably don't, you want to line up some contingency plan to have a center in the future. And I think Drew Kendall is an awesome option in the later rounds here coming out of Boston College. 3 years of starting center at Boston College and only allowed 5 total sacks in 3 years. The past 2 seasons, only 1 sack each year. A good pass blocking grade this past season, 81.5. A good run blocking grade, 75.9. He's also a very intriguing prospect for later in this draft. So we are going to go Drew Kendall, center out of Boston College here at pick 237. So that does it for my final Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft, at least for the personal mock drafts. Again, I'll be doing my Brian Gutekunst mock and releasing it in a couple of days. So let's go over this mock. Man, I really like what I came out with in this mock draft. Did a bunch of trades. We have 4 total trades, which I could see the Packers doing. I want to pick up more draft picks. I want them to pick up more draft picks. And trading down and getting Kenneth Grant, to me, is a home run day 1 of the NFL draft. I'm very high on Kenneth Grant. If they could trade down and still get him and pick up another draft pick, I just think that is a home run. We go Benjamin Morrison in round 2. I know a lot of people question if Benjamin Morrison is going to be a safe pick, but I think at 59, you can't pass it up. You cannot pass up the talent because Benjamin Morrison, when on the field, is a top 3 cornerback in this class. Some people even would consider him a top 2 cornerback. The talent is undeniable. I think he will be okay from that hip injury. And if he is, look out, because the Packers just got an absolute steal at 59. Then we trade up and go my favorite wide receiver in this draft class, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. I think he plugs right into that X receiver the Packers like. He's tall, strong, physical, can run block, can win contested catch situations. We're going to need him in the absence of Christian Watson. We'll go Ty Robinson at 124. His value is right around 100, so I think this is good value for him at 124. An athletic 3-tech that can, rotate in with the group of Kenneth Grant, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, and help down low on that defensive line. Then we traded down yet again, and we went Tyler Barron, edge out of Miami, one of my favorite sleeper edges coming out of this class. He fits a lot of the Packers thresholds. He has a decent amount of production the past 2 seasons. Add him into the group that we currently have. I like that as well. We go Logan Brown at 159. Only 1 year of stardom at right tackle at Kansas, but very, very intriguing tackle prospect in the middle to late rounds. Then we go Ty Felton in the 5th round as well. A speedster, burner, yards after the catch wide receiver to pair up with Trey Harris, I think is an awesome idea. Zoff Frazier at 198. You love the potential. You love the athletic profile, although he only played 1 year at a lower program like UTSA. You take the flyer here in the 6th round at 198, 100%. Then we wrap up this draft class in the 7th round and go Drew Kendall out of Boston College at 237. 3 years starting center over there, and a really good one at that. And I think it's tremendous value here at 237. The Packers should be looking to add a full-time center to have depth under Elton Jenkins. So we ended up with 9 total picks. Obviously, we started with 8 picks, and we still got, a ton of talent. Kenneth Grant, definitely a first-round talent. Benjamin Morrison at one point was considered a first-round talent, and he's only fallen more and more and more because people are a little bit scared of the injury concerns. But I think you cannot pass up the talent at 59. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know what you think overall of this final personal mock draft version 10.0 of the 2025 NFL draft. Again, I really appreciate you guys coming by every single week to check out these mock drafts. I appreciate the endless support you guys give on this channel. Seriously, can't thank you guys enough. A quick reminder to go check out BetUsTV. I have their YouTube linked down in the description below. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.